Welcome to my diving video 2, and there's Anne. You ready to go, Anne? She is. And we're getting bounced around the ocean. Well, Kenneth drives the boat. Pretty sweet, really. Beautiful out here. Ocean, Florida, coast. Nice. Well, enough screwing around. We're in the water. And there's our guide, Mimi, and Anne, my sister, going down. Do have to tell you, we did cut quite a bit here just to try and keep it interesting. And as we just get going along, you can start seeing those big old jug sponges. First interesting thing I really saw, standout thing, was that big old rope there. It's kind of covered in crap, just marine growth, more jugs, and fish with zebra stripes, and just all kinds of beautiful fish. We were going along this coral for quite a while, and I'm going to cut a bit of it out because it gets a bit repetitive, but it's still all just so gorgeous. The blue tint from the water eating up all the red. That was just a pretty fish right there, and I just wanted to capture it. Swimming along, and there is a puffer. Didn't want to get close enough to get poisoned by the thing, but there's the puffer fish just hanging out in the coral. Anyway, here we go along, and we get this pretty kind of angel-looking fish, this blue tint. Some more of them, and more of these big old jugs, sponges. And these fish would kind of hang out in the sponges too. It was kind of cool. And here, I just wanted to get a look straight down in the sponge. Not super interesting, but if I don't let you see it, it's kind of comes off weird as not being able to see what makes them up. There's some more fish there, some pretty big ones actually. And here we go along, and a pretty blue one. You get a really close up on that. Still learning how the camera works, really. As we swim along here, another pretty one. And again, I'm cutting to try and just see some of the really pretty fish here, especially in this part of the coral. The first part of the dive was pure coral, was pure reef. There's another really pretty one with its kind of fin just going mad there. Another pretty blue one. And I got a really good side shot of it. It's swimming by. I just love how gorgeous it is. And as you can see how fast we're moving. Here we're coming to a big depression. Oh, there's a part of no, that was just coral there. I thought that was a lobster for a second, but not quite. But I wanted to capture this depression here because this is where all tons of fish were hanging out, just hiding from the current. I mean, we're dealing with like a pretty severe current if you can watch it. We're just kind of cruising along here. We're not trying hard. We're just being pushed along. And as we come along here, we're seeing tons and tons of fish. And I think this is about where we saw the big thing I really want to show you here. Just waiting until I see it. Oh, a bunch of fish just hanging out in there. They're all hanging out from the current, hiding from bigger predators. There's a zebra-looking fish. A bunch of waving fan coral. All kinds of just cool stuff. And there she is. A big old shark. I think she's a nurse shark, but I'm not sure. Could be a lemon shark. I'm really going to have to look up those fin designs and really give you a good answer someday. Well, there's another pretty fish down there off the left, but we really took a good look at that shark, but the current just kept pushing us along. We were just cruising along. Mimi's a really skilled diver. That's my sister right there. Mimi's the one with the kind of undulating fins. Huge school of fish. Just so cool. All of it is just so much fun to look at. We have these fish and kind of finding their way down into the holes and crevices. And right here is another puffer that we saw close to the edge of this. This is near the edge of where the coral was. I mean, the current just blew us over the coral the whole time. And as you can see, oh, there's another pretty one I just found. Um, but if you notice that line that was coming up from Mimi, our guide, it was just going straight. That's up to our dive buoy. And it was just crazy how much current there was. Now, we're coming up, end of our first dive, and hopefully I get to spot it right here on our way up. But this became the bane of our existence at the end of this dive, and actually the end of the second dive too. We ended up running into, let's see if we see one of them. As we're going up, here we go. Now, if you look closely, you'll see them. They're the jellies. That became the bane of our existence at the end here because we're just coming up, and I didn't catch it here because I turned off my camera pretty shortly after this. But tons of jellies just showed up, and we kept running into them. I got stung 2 or 3 times. My sister got stung. I think Mimi avoided most of the stinging because she had long pants on. Anyway, so this is the end of our first dive. So now we're going to get to go back in. This is the beginning of our second dive, and you can see Mimi is letting out the line. We still were dealing with pretty heavy current here, and we're going to keep moving. And I'm actually going to cut this so that we can get down to where we're really seeing some cool stuff in the wrecks. There's a beginning of a wreck there, but we kind of passed over that one, didn't really get to see it. Had to see some cool, pretty big fish here and some raw coral. I don't think this is artificial reefing here, but they're pieces of wreckage and stuff we're going to come up on here. Kind of bars, look like concrete maybe, or spars or something. But then we come into the ribs and just the skeleton of this boat. Not boating so well anymore. As my son said, it was impersonating a submarine for a bit. Didn't work out so well for it. Anyway, so we see some zebrafish and see kind of the skeleton of the boat there. Some frame and my sister's butt moving by. And we're looking over the structure, and as you can see, we're just getting shoved over this thing. And we're kind of trying to keep our moving around and looking at stuff. You just look at the structure and the coral and everything growing up around it, and all the fish just in this little just lee of the current, just protecting themselves. It's very cool. Oh, and there were some barracuda and I think those are jacks. They're just swimming with them. Big old barracuda. There were like 3 of them there. And I kind of followed them along a little bit. And then looked down, and I'm looking over at blue fish, and this is when Mimi and Anne started pointing at something, and started going towards something in the middle of the boat. You can still see the barracuda over there. And we're swimming against this current. I had to love Mimi's undulating flippers there. They're just these odd, really long pro ones. I mean, these are the kind of things that free divers use. It's very cool. We're coming up in the middle of this boat, and this is where I have to think the engine room is. She's saying, come over here and look at this. What is this? And I'm thinking she's looking at some of the structure here, and I'm the cameraman, which I'm not a very good cameraman. I'm looking around, I'm seeing all these pieces of stuff. What she was pointing at was apparently a grouper over there that I just could not see. And I am just not seeing it right now. And she's pointing at it, and I just didn't know what she was looking at. I was just so engrossed with this big old crankshaft here and all this structure here that's all over the place. And I keep looking in the photos. I'm trying to see what it was that we're looking at, the grouper, but I never saw the grouper. I'm still not really seeing the grouper. I'm going to have to keep going back over this video until I maybe see it, see what I missed. I mean, unfortunately, it's the same colors, all the structure. Well, you can look at that big old crankshaft there, and I do have to say it's really cool to realize how big of a vessel this actually is, and how big the engine. We were right where the engine would have been, and then you can see kind of where the prop shaft goes down under the structure, and just the rusting and just the as nature just kind of takes it all over, and you can see there's bunkers underneath there where the fish are just going into the structure and just making their home, and then more barracuda. And I get a really good look at this barracuda right here. I just think it's such a cool, sleek fish. Just showing how cool and massive it is, powerful. And then just looking at the end of this boat, just man, might be the nose. I'm not exactly sure which side's the front and which side's the back. I mean, it unfortunately impersonated a submarine, so there you go. Pretty fish. And here we are coming along and coming up, and I just love how this boat eerily comes out of the mist into our view. And we approach it. It's just the shadowy thing that slowly comes into focus. And it's just a simple barge, but it just has that eerie, ghosty feeling. I'm pretty sure this is an artificial reef, intentionally sunk for purposes of providing homes for fish, but hey, I love them all. And we kind of just cruising by. Oh, that was a pretty one underneath that boat there. Kind of, great camouflage. All the sponges, various kinds of formations all over it. And here we go. We found a reef shark. As you can see, there's a little buddy with it. Peeling along. I was looking for little scraps come off his big bro here. And it's like Mutt and Jeff. Like, what are we gonna do today, boy? Boss, what are we gonna do today, boss? And here we go. More structure, and I saw this and thought, well, the jacket survey didn't go too well on this one. I guess that's a bit of an oil rig joke for you. Some of my oil days. Anyway, you see all the growth. Just get a good close up of the growth as I get blown past way too fast. And just looking at some of the other structure here, just covered with marine growth and stuff. It's just kind of like it's been abandoned by man, and nature takes it over. Kind of almost an apocalyptic look to it. I love it. And then here we go, another fish below all the cool stuff over here. I don't know what these things were. Now, we're getting pointed at something. I think I see it now. There's a big old lobster here. Ah, pretty with the big thing. I tried to get a good look as I could on it, and well, then I got blown past because huge current, and we're not fighting it. I mean, the harder you fight it, the quicker your oxygen goes away. So you got to pick your battles. So we chose ours. Well, anyway, that was about the end of the cool stuff we saw, and now we have to head back to the surface and call it a day. Thank you, folks.